Okay, so good morning once again. Welcome to NESA Excel training. This is week 2, but I think this is probably the third meeting that we're having, both physically and virtually. So to kick things off, just to reiterate on what we've already discussed, I would like everyone to just drop what was the most, most exciting thing you've learned about Excel in the last 2 weeks? Or what was the favorite, your favorite thing you've learned about Excel in the last 2 weeks? You can just drop that to the chat. Let me see what your favorite feature, or maybe it's a feature, maybe it's a function, maybe it's a capability of Excel that, oh, in the last 2 weeks, you're really wowed by it. You can just drop it in the chat. Okay, let's just give the next 30 seconds. 30, 29, 28. So we can start. Waiting. Okay. Seems no one has a favorite feature so far. That's not bad. Hopefully that will change in the next 2 weeks, right? All right. So let's start. So this was this week's assignment, and the assignment was designed in a way to build on what we've done last week, because you see some features of the class last week, and to build on this week's tutorials as well. Okay, so this was designed by one of the other facilitators, but is not present today, but we'll go on with it. All right, so this was the first task, and I think going through the review of the submission, everyone did this correctly, right? It was very, very simple now. So the first task was to do what? Use Excel functions to extract the customer ID and branch short code into the different columns provided below. Okay. So the most suitable functions for this were, I think I even gave a hint, were the left and the right function. So anyone wants to just give a little explanation of what the left and right function does? Anyone? What does the left function do? What does the right function do? You can unmute, it's allowed. You can drop in the chat, it's allowed. Let's try and keep the class interactive so it doesn't just be me talking for the next 2.5, 3 hours, okay? I hope I'm not just speaking to myself. Okay, select all characters in the left, right? Okay, select all characters in the left. Any other? But that is partly correct. That is partly correct. So let's look at what the left function does. Now, as always, you know that once you start typing in the function, Excel gives you an idea. So this is left, and from the screen tip here, it says what? Returns the specified number of characters from the start of a text string. So what left function does is that you give it a text string. So a text string is just basically anything that is text, right? If it's not number, it is text. So a text string. So then you tell Excel, okay, using the left function, how many strings or how many letters from this particular text do you want, starting from the left? Okay, so now we wanted to extract the customer ID and the branch sort code. And if you look at it, there seems to be a pattern The branch short code is how many numbers? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the customer ID is also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that was consistent throughout the entire data set. So that was why we could use the left function. So all we needed to do is what? Type in left. What's the text? The text is in cell A7, and we extract 6 characters from it. So that gives me the first 6 characters. And then to extract the, I think we switched this. This is supposed to be branch source code and this is supposed to be customer ID, but you get the gist. So using the right function, the right function basically does what the left function does, but instead of counting from the left, it counts from the right. So you take this 6 and give this. Now, let's just, we can highlight both of them and then copy down in one go. Okay. So I want someone to tell me why are these numbers left aligned and not right aligned? Like if you see let's say something that looks like a number in Excel and they are left aligned, what does that tell you about the content of that cell? You can unmute yourself. You can use the chat. If you see the content of a cell left aligned, what does that tell you about the content of that cell? I'm waiting for a response. You can unmute yourself if typing is going to take too long. There is no harm in it. I said, if you see, like, let me see. So you have the content of these cells now, and you see that the content of these cells are left aligned. And I mean, you know the meaning of left aligned, that's they're aligned to the left. Why is it that this is aligned to the left, but if I type in the exact same thing here, 850318, this one seems to be aligned to the right. Why is that? You see that this close.
That's because
Okay. I'm listening.
that's okay. That's because you've applied a function
Okay.
to the numbers. That's why they are left aligned. I mean, you mentioned last week. I've forgotten how you put it.
Okay. Maybe. But you're not exactly there yet.
I think it's because the words that are left aligned, it's because they are put in the formula bar, you wrote it in double quotes. So Excel interprets it as text instead of numbers.
Okay. That's closer. Anyone wants to try? Any other suggestion? Okay, so this is it, right? You know already that by default, Excel aligns numbers to the right and text to the left. So if I type in Bolaji here, you see that by default it is what? Left aligned, but the number I typed here is what? Right aligned. Okay. Now, if you look at this text string here, now remember I didn't say look at this number. I said look at what? This text string. So it is a text. Okay. Now, because it's a text, the left function only works with text. Or not that it necessarily works with text, but anything the left function brings out is always going to be a text. If I say, okay, I want to use on this name Bolaji now, let me type it, let me put it somewhere. So I type in Bolaji here, okay? And I say, okay, left function, give me the first 3 characters, okay? That's clear, it gave me Bolaji. Let me type in a number here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's left aligned, right? And I say left function, give me the first 3 characters. You see what happens? I gave it numbers, but when it went through the left function, they became text. So the left function will always give outputs of a text. Even if you pass in a number, even if you pass in an actual text string, the results from the left function will always be a text. Okay. And why that is important is because now if I said, okay, I took the left function and I said, give me text, and I tried to do any arithmetic with this text, I say, okay, equals to this multiplied by 10, for example. You expect 1, 2, 3, 0. Let's see if that works. Oh, okay, it works. That was that was smart. I was expecting that to work, but it did. I just wanted to point out, right? Because this understanding that text functions are left aligned by default and numbers, not text function, text strings are left aligned by default and numbers are right aligned by default helps you when you get, someone sends you an Excel workbook with data and then you are seeing some funny things and the person is telling you, I'm trying to change the format of this thing, but it's not working. Once you just, these things are left aligned, it's already text. Now, in case you extract a text string, like they are numbers, but they are not recognized as numbers in Excel. Like in this case, I've extracted the first 6 from this. And then because Excel sees it as, okay, you extracted part of a text from a text, it keeps it as what? Text, right? What we can do is to use, there's a function that we can use to convert numbers that look like text and convert them to actual numbers. And that function is called value. And see what I've just started typing value and look at what we have. It says what? Converts a text string that represents a number to a number. So these numbers here represents a number, right? This one also represents a number, but currently they don't look like numbers. So I could do this and say equals to value, okay? And I select this, close it, and see what happens. Here it is left aligned, but here it is what? Right aligned. It is actually recognized as a number. You see that because it's recognized as a number here, I can apply some number formatting. If I go to my home tab in the numbers group, I can apply a number formatting. But if I try that here, see what happens. Nothing. Get it? Nothing. So undo that. That was just to point out the left and the right function. There are other functions as well that we use that are commonly used to work with text functions. I mean, that are commonly used to work with text. Okay, so we dealt with left, right? We dealt with left, we dealt with right. Let me clear the formatting. Okay, so we dealt with the left function, we dealt with the right function. There are some other functions. We have the mid function. We'll quickly look at that. We have, so the left, the right, the mid. Then we have upper, proper, and lower. Okay, so these are also commonly used functions to work with text. Now we know what the text function does. Anytime if you want to find out about the new function, I've showed you one way. One way is to start typing the name of the function, okay, and then Excel will give you a screen tip of what the function does. The second way is to go over to the formulas tab, okay, or okay, not necessarily go over to formulas tab. You can remain anywhere, but it's to come to this insert function. Just right beside the formula bar, you have this FX icon. That is insert function. When you click on that, okay, it brings up this insert function dialog box. So it brings up this insert function dialog box, and then you can say, okay, what I'm trying to do is what? Mid. And I say go, and it brings up a function mid. So right there where you see the function, it gives you some extra information about the function. Mid returns the character from the middle of a text string, given a starting point and position. You say, okay, you select that one, you click OK. Then it opens up this function argument box. Now, basically, what you've been doing by typing the functions, you can also do it, this way if you're just getting familiar with the function. And the good thing about this one is that for every argument that you need to input into this function, you say, okay, the first argument is what? Text, right? And then you have a little bit of explanation that, okay, text is the text string from which you want to extract the characters, right? So let's just make a quick example. I'll close this and let's just create, a few, let's say a sample, right? So I have Bolaji. Let me see how many of us on the call. Just pick some names at random. Temitope, no, back. Let's see, Abiodun and okay. So let's just say we have this set, okay, and the first thing we wanted to do is what? First, let's say first 3 letters. This one will say last 2 letters. Then okay, and here we want to say, let's say we want to get the let's see. Let's say we want to get 3 letters starting from the 4th position. Okay, so that's what we want to do here. So to get the first 3 letters, you already know, right? The left function. So I want to show you how to use the function arguments. This insert function, in case you're not familiar with a function. Okay, so I go to insert function and I say, okay, what do I want to do? First 3 letters, and I say go. Okay, Excel wasn't able to figure it out. I can say, okay, let's assume I know the function left, and I click on go. Okay, I get the left function, returns specified number of characters from the start of the string. Okay, so the first thing the left function says is what? Text. What is text? Text is the string containing the characters you want to extract. Okay, I click here, I select my text. You see what happened? Look at the cell contents here. It is adding, basically typing the formula for me, right? So I go to the next argument is what? Number of characters. How many characters do I want to extract from this text? 3. It's just basically writing the formula for me. All I have to do is what? Click. And it has given me an example here. Okay, my formula result is going to be what? BOL. And I press OK. And if you look at this now, it has written the formula for me. If you look at the formula bar, it has written the formula for me. So I can just copy this down, right? Okay, and the same thing for this one too. What I want to get is what? The last 2 letters. I can still use the insert function, or I can use my normal right. Okay, select this to enter, right? And I copy down and see it gets the last 2 functions. Now the last one is what I said, okay, 3 letters starting from the 4th position. So that's where the mid function comes in. So we'll use the insert function now and say, okay, mid, press go. It brings out the mid function and I press okay. So here I see some information about the mid function. Returns the characters from the middle of a text string, giving a starting position and length. So start from here and give me this long characters. I mean, this a text string that is this long. So, and then the first thing is what? Text. Text is the text string from which you want to extract the characters. So in this case, my text string is here. I click here. Next one, start num. Start num is what? Is the position of the first character you want to extract. The first character in text, that is text. You see, it's capital, so it's referring to here. The first character in text is what? position 1. And the question says find what starting from position 4. So here I'll start with 4. And then num_char says what specifies how many characters from the text you want to return. And we said, okay, let's assume 3. So from this text string, start at position 4 and give me 3 characters. And I press OK. Now, is it correct? What's position 4? BOLA. So start from A and give me 3 characters. And if I copy that down, you see that we have the same thing here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it starts from I, gives me 3. Get, so that is the left, the right, and the mid function. Okay. So this next set of functions I will look at is the upper, proper, and lower. So I will just copy this here, and I'll make, let me just make all of this a little bit funny, right? Let's just make them a little bit funny. Sorry if you don't like your name being spelled anyhow. It's not intentional. Okay, don't come and attack me later on. So let's just make some of this weird. Okay. So let's assume, right, you were given a set of text strings. Let's make this a little bit wide. And okay, can zoom out a bit. All right, so let's assume we're given a set of text strings like this. I hope my screen is clear enough. Maybe I should zoom. Let me zoom in a bit. Why is it? I think it's better now. So let's assume we're given a set of text string, and then you want to convert these names, right, to proper names where, let's say, for example, the first one is also you want to say, want to make this properly with all the first letters as capital letter and then the rest of them as small letters. And if you remember your, primary school alphabets, you have uppercase. It's just that maybe in our own case, we always say capital letter and small letter, right? So you have uppercase. If you say you want to put everything in uppercase, what does that mean? You make all the letters in the text what capital. They all be in capital letters. If you say proper, you remember now, proper noun. What's the proper noun? Say name of a verb, blah, 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 blah. Say verb, that's the name of a verb. So you say proper noun, right? A name. And you know that the way you write a name is what? I can see all of you on the chat now. I can see your names are what? They're in proper case. So meaning that the first letter of each word is going to be in capital letters, while other letters will be in small letters or in lowercase. So that's the lowercase aspect. Everything will be what? Small letters. So we can try proper, right? And just how to start the function equals to proper. Okay, and if you look at the screen tip here, what does it say? It says what? Converts a text string to proper case. That is the first letter in each word to uppercase and all other letters to lowercase. So I hit my tab, and the only argument the proper function requires is what? The text you want to convert into proper case. I select this, I close my bracket, and I press enter. And if I copy this down, see what happens. I have everything what? Properly transformed. Only the first letters are in uppercase, the rest are in what? Lowercase. The same thing goes for, let's look at the upper. Uppercase simply means that everything is going to be in capital letters. So I can say equals to upper, press my tab, and I select my text function, my text that I want to convert, and I press enter and see what happens. Everything is what? In capital letters without me having to manually type it in. Okay, and then the next one I want to do is what? Let's say lower, and then lower is what? Equals to lower, and I select my text function, close my bracket, and I press enter, and you see what happens. Everything becomes lowercase. Okay, so this is always very useful when you are, sometimes you download maybe from a site, or you get some maybe you're in the office, they send something to you and all the text are wonky. You want to convert it whether to proper to uppercase, or sometimes the one that I think is even more common is maybe you get a set of text string that are all in uppercase and you have like 200 items in the column and you say, oh, how can I change this to maybe proper case? Okay, all you just have to do is what? Use the proper function. You don't have to go in and start typing one by one and say, okay, copy this one, edit this stuff, because I've done it before and I know how it can be. So those are the 6 text functions that are mostly, very, very useful. There are still more, okay, but we would not treat that yet. So left, the right, the mid function, upper, proper, lower are very good functions when working with text. Okay, so let's move over to the second assignment. We said aggregations. Okay, so if you attended the last class we had, this one would be, a very, very, very easy task for you. And what was the goal here? The goal here was using the appropriate functions, filling the empty columns in the range provided below. That is this. So what we wanted to do is what? You have a set of departments, and these departments are from this list. Okay, I want you to do some summarizations of this data. Okay, what are the number of workers in manufacturing? What's the total salary in manufacturing? What's the average salary in manufacturing? So for those of us that were on the last call, in the last class, I want you to tell me how we would go about it. So I know that, yes, you guys are learning. I don't want to have to call anybody's name, even if I know the people that I'll call and will answer, but I want you guys to tell me, how would I solve this? What functions am I supposed to use? Okay, I'm waiting. Blessing, Ndokwe, Ite. You can unmute yourself, right? You don't have to type. Just unmute yourself, speak, and be muted. No one wants to talk. I've seen your assignment and I know the people that got it correctly. So don't let me have to call you. Okay, Blessing, can you help us out? Okay, someone has answered. All right, thank you. So yes, the COUNTIFS function would help with solving the number of workers, right? How about the total salary? What function? You can just type the function. Don't even need to type in the entire solution. What function do I need to do the total salary for each department? SUMIFS, great, that's correct. And then for the average salary, you already know that it is average ifs. Okay, so let's just quickly do that. So the number of workers, say equals to COUNTIFS, right? And you're already familiar with the argument of COUNTIFS. First thing is what? The criteria range. So what I want to count is what? All of this. To highlight everything, what's the shortcut? Control Shift down arrow, select all of that, and I do Control backspace to go back to the cell editing. And you already know that I have to do what? Fix this reference, because I'll be copying down the formula down when I need the range to remain fixed. So I fix that, comma, and I select the department, close my brackets, enter, and I copy it down. And that gives me the total number of workers in each department. I can always come down here and do what? Sum it, equals to sum, and sum all of this. Okay, I have 99 here, and I can cross-check that. That was if is that, okay, this list was every single department here. I can cross-check that. Well, it might be, it might not be. Okay, So that's for the number of workers. Total salary is equals to SUMIFS, and I select total salary, Control Shift down arrow, F4 to lock it, comma. The criteria range is what? Still the department. Control Shift down arrow, F4 to lock that, comma, and I will select my department, close the bracket and press enter. And then I fill it down. Now, I think everyone that submitted, you all did this correctly. Okay, you all did this correctly. But there's just one thing I want to add to your submission, and that is anytime you are working in a spreadsheet, it could be your own work, it could be at the office, it could be anything really. Okay, if you are working with the spreadsheet, after you've done your calculations and everything, try to make your solution presentable. Okay, so how how nice do you think it would be if we had all of this, with commas where they needed to be, so you easily know that okay, this is not 42,000, this is 422,000. And we've shown that I believe in first class. All I need to do is what? Highlight all of this, go to my home tab and change the number formatting. Okay, if I don't want the decimal places, I can always remove it, add my commas, and I can do other forms of formatting that I want to. So that was just one thing that was missing in pretty much everyone's submission. Okay, you did the formulas correctly, but next time try to work on your presentation. Okay, make your spreadsheet as presentable or as neat as you possibly can. Okay, so the last thing we'll look at, the average salary is just what's equals to. Now you can use the average ifs. Okay, now for even if you don't have the average ifs, there's no penalty because it's a new function, but just for you to get familiar with it, you can use the average ifs, select the salary, Control Shift down, F4, comma, I select my department, Control Shift down, F4, and I select the department, close my bracket, press enter. I fill it down. Okay. Now, what do I want to do? I said always try and make it presentable. Now, you know how to do your number formatting. Okay. But there might be times where you have spent a lot of time. Let's say you've formatted a particular range, and then you just want to do that same formatting, okay, on a different cell range, during a different range of cells. Now there is a tool that makes that very, very easy. Okay, let's say I have formatted all of this now. In this case, I only did the number formatting, but maybe I made it bold, I made it italics, I've done all sorts of things together. And I want to do the same thing for here, this set of cells, without having to go over all the steps one by one. All you need to do is just what? Select the cell that has the formatting that you want. Okay, then you go to the home tab. In the home tab, just right at the left here, you will see this paintbrush. This paintbrush is what is known as the format painter. As you see me hovering over it, you see that little tooltip. And what the format painter basically does is that you select, once you're on a cell that contains some form of formatting, and you click on the format painter basically copies the formatting in that cell, and then you can now apply the formatting on the other cells, on any other cell that you've chosen. So if I click it once, now you see my this thing, my cursor now, it now has a little paintbrush beside it. So I can now come here and say, okay, I want to apply this formatting to this place. Now, if you click on the format painter once and then you just apply it somewhere, what happens is that once it applies, the formatting that you copied will just go and be applied once. But if you want to apply it in multiple places, right? All you do is what? Instead of single clicking on the format painter, you do what? You double click. And once you double click, your cursor again will change. That tells you that okay, now your cursor is carrying formatting. Okay, and then you just do what you can just like select all of the ranges that you want to apply the formatting. And even after you've applied that, you see that your cursor is still carrying the formatting. Now, anywhere I click now would have that formatting. But if I'm already done, what I need to do is what? Press escape. So once you press the escape key, the format, your cursor is no longer carrying formatting, and then you can start using it as you wish. But in this case, I think it would be nice for us to have decimal places. So I can select this, and under my home tab, I can increase the number of decimal places to say 2. Okay, so this one was quite easy. We had done something like this in the last class. So let's move to the other task, which is if. Now, we were even quite kind with this assignment, and we told you the functions or the features that you were going to use. Yet someone still did something that was very, very interesting, I would say. Okay, so let's look at this task. This task is for the managers with the positive variances, return favorable, and otherwise return unfavorable in the remark column. We've completely spelled out what you're supposed to do. So the first thing is that what if a manager is with a positive variance, and this we've already calculated the variance here, which was just the difference between the turnover and the budget. So if this number is positive, we want to have a remark here that says what? Favorable. And if it is negative or otherwise, we just want to return what? Unfavorable. And anytime you want to enter let's say you want to enter something, but based on a criteria, that if a criteria is met, do this. If it's not met, do that. You use the word if function. Now, someone did something very, very, very interesting, and the person manually typed favorable, unfavorable, favorable, unfavorable in each of these cells. Maybe he copied and pasted, I don't know, but it was not driven by a formula. So I knew that the person typed it. Now, you were able to do that because we only gave you a set of transactions, probably less than 20 or about 21. Okay, so we only gave you 21 entries. That's why you were able to type it. Now, imagine you had, let's just say 100 or even 1,000. Will you have gone typing in one by one? The answer is no. Okay, so always try anything you are doing in Excel that you think, okay, can I use a formula to make this faster? Always try to look for a formula to make it faster, or at least a feature in Excel to make it faster. Now, you may be able to do it manually. Okay, maybe you just have 5 rows, 10 rows. You may be able to do it manually, but you trying to use a formula or a feature in Excel to do it is how you keep practicing and learning, okay, to become better at that thing. Because one day, that day will always come where you would not have a small data set or a small set of values, and you will need to do whether a calculation or whatever on it. So let's look at this, and we're going to use the if function. What does if function do? The if function basically says, okay, given this criteria, check if this criteria is met. If the criteria is met, do this. If it is not, don't do something else. So if I start typing equals to if, let me zoom a little bit. So it's okay. So if I start typing equals to if, and I open my brackets, see the first argument there is what? The logical test. Now, what's the logical test? It's just a logical test. So it's basically you are testing a particular condition, right, for the task that you have. So in this case, we want to test whether the variances are what? Positive. Now, if a variance is positive, it means that it is what? Greater than 0. So what we want to test is this value greater than 0? Okay, that's the logical test. is the variance greater than 0? That's our logical test, comma, value if true. Okay, if the variance is greater than 0, what should I do? Return the term favorable. Now, favorable is a text that we want to enter into the function, which means that we have to put it in double quotes. So I open my quotes and I type in favorable and I close my quotes. That's my value if true, comma. So if it is not greater than 0, they say we should type in unfavorable. So I open my quote again because I'm bringing in the text and I type in unfavorable. Close my double quotes, close my bracket, and I press enter. And then all I have to do is just what? Copy this down by double clicking, and that's all. Okay, don't try to type in manually. Always use a formula if you can. So let's look at the second one, which is if number 2. Now, if number 2 was a little bit more interesting, and most of you didn't, maybe you didn't get the question. Probably there were some technical terms there, so the performance was somehow. So let's just look at the first task. Task 1 says customer loyalty reward. Give any customer 10% rebate with value from 60,000 and above. Okay, so just to explain some terms, a rebate is like a discount for bulk purchase. Okay, and you're only, in this case, you're only giving that 10% rebate because it's part of our customer loyalty reward. So you've been buying from us for a long time, and then we want to give you 10% in quote discount or 10% rebate if you have a purchase from 60,000 and above. So you've been given a set of customers. This is the value of the product that they purchased. And now your own job is to do what? Calculate the loyalty reward. But not everybody is going to get 10%, right? So which means the criteria here, or the condition for you to get that 10% is you must have a value from 60,000 and above. So this would not get, this would get, this would get, this would not get, this would get, this would not get, this would get. One approach, which is a very, very, very bad approach, okay, is to come here and say, okay, equals to, okay, you know this one is not going to get, you skip it, you come here and say equals to this times 10%, which is 0.1, okay, and then you come here, you copy it and say, okay, this one will get, you come here, you paste, you come here, you paste, you come here, you paste. Someone did this, which is very, 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 very wrong. Okay, very wrong. What we need to do is what? Find a way to conditionally have Excel look through this value of the product and check if it is greater than or equal to 60,000, and then give the 10%. So you say, how do we do that? Is using the if function. So equals to if, and you press tab to select the if function. The first thing is what? The logical test. I select my value of product. What am I testing? That it is from 60 and above. So that means if it is 60, they actually get 10% rebate. So instead of using greater than 60, I'm going to use greater than or equal to 60. So I say greater than, equal to. Now, anytime you want to perform a logical test, okay, or even for most functions in Excel, if you want to compare against a number, right, you don't need to put it in double quotes like open quote 60,000. Okay, you don't need to put it in double quote. All you just need to do is what? Type in 60,000. The only exception to this are the SUMIFS, the COUNTIFS, and the averages functions that require you to put anything you're going to be putting in your criteria has to be in double quotes. Okay, if you're going to be using greater than, equal to, less than, equal to, not equal to. In SUMIFS, COUNTIFS, you would have to put a double quote around your, your double quote only be around your logical operator here, but not on the value. Okay, so anytime you're working with numbers and formulas, you don't put them in double quotes, you only put text in double quotes. So the logical test is check this that is greater than equal to 60,000, and I press my comma. Now, if that is true, what I want to give them, what I want to give them a 10% rebate on what they bought. So my thing is what 10% is what 0.1 times the value of the product they purchase. Okay, so everything like this is my value if true. So you don't always, it's not compulsory you only return a single text string. You can give in a calculation or even another function, okay, in that condition. I mean that value if true. And then if the value is false, that means you're not getting any rebate. And so we just say if they don't purchase up to 60,000, the value of the loyalty reward is what? 0. And I can close my bracket and press enter. And if I fill it down, you see that there are some formatting has been applied. That's why the zeros are looking like dash, and the other ones are actually bringing in the actual values. So this one gets, this one gets, this one is not up to 60,000. That's why there's no rebate. This one is not up to 60,000. That's why there's no rebate. Okay. I hope you're following. So let's look at the next example. Many of us didn't do it like this, but that's the essence of the class. We're learning. Okay, we're learning. So let's look at the next example. Next example now is also a customer loyalty reward, but with a slightly more interesting condition. So it says that if any customer, we give any customer 10% rebates with a value from 60 and above, but we should give them 5% if they have 40 and above. Okay, so you first check, are you greater than 60? Take 10%. We now also check, are you greater than 40? We take 5%. So this is it. First thing is what? You know, we're using our if function, equals to if. I'll put my brackets. Value, are you greater than equal to what? 60,000. If you're greater than equal to 60,000, give me 10%, right? That's 0.1 multiplied by the value of the progress. And I press my comma. Now, the value if false is where it now gets interesting. Okay, so I've said if you're greater than equal to 60,000, give me 10%. If you're not, what do I want to do? I want to now also check that what are you greater than or equal to 40,000. So in my value if false, I can start another if function. I say if this is greater than or equal to 40,000. See that I've opened another function within my if function. Okay, so and that's like I'm taking that. Oh, if this is greater than or equal to 40,000, close, put your comma. What I want to do this time is what? 5%, which is 0.05 times the value of my product, comma. So if that does not hold, in this case, I just want to return what? 0. So I close my bracket. I see that because it's red, it means that it corresponds to this first if function. So that means I have not yet closed the first, it corresponds to the second if function. So I have not yet closed the first if function I opened. So I close this second if function again, and then you will notice that the last bracket I put here is what? Is black. Okay, it's black. So I press enter and I copy it down. And you see that for those ones that are greater than or equal to 40, they get 5%. For those that are greater than or equal to 60, they get 10%. Now, we've just introduced a new concept that we have not talked about before, and that is nesting functions. Okay, what does it mean by nesting functions is that you put a function inside of another function, or you use the output of a function as the input to another function. let me just look at a quick example. Okay, look at the quick example. So I want to say, let's say in this column here now, what I want to do is that I want to go through this net amount paid. Okay, and I want to give an extra discount to the customer that bought the highest. Okay, so that is, I want to say, okay, give another 5%, let's say 5% discount, 5% discount for highest value. For high, what is it? 5% discount for highest value. You can drag this a little bit. Okay, so if you just spell out this, let me just copy the formatting here. So I take this, come to my home tab, format painter, and I apply it here. So it looks like, okay. So, and I can do the same thing here. Then we copy the formatting here, copy and apply. All right. So I want to do, what I'm saying is what? 5% discount for the highest value. That is, Excel will go through this one and look for what? The highest value. And once you find that highest value, give that person another what? 5% discount. Okay. So what we want to do is now what? First, we need to say, okay, what is the highest value? Right? And then we find the highest value. We now want to now check, okay, are you the highest value? 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 If you are the highest value, okay, now I'm going to give you 5% times what you are. If you are not, I give you 0. How do we go about that? This is it now. Already, you know that we're going to be using the if function because we are testing a condition to give a result or to do a calculation. So you start equals to if, comma, I mean bracket, open your brackets. You now check this value here, are you equal to the highest value? How do we find the highest value in Excel? We've done it in first class. Is what? The max function. So I say, are you equal to the maximum of all of this? Okay, so I wanted to go through and say, okay, find the maximum of all of these numbers and check if what I'm working with is equal to that. So if you are equal to this, what do I want to give? I want to give what? 5%. You can put it as this, more you can put it as this, multiplied by this number. Then I put my comma, and my value equals is what? If that's not true, just give me 0. And I close my bracket and I press enter. Now, where is the highest value here? If you just look at it, you see that this is the highest value. Here, this one is the highest value. So what we are expecting the 5% to be here and every other thing to be 0. Now let's copy this formula down. Now what happens? We are seeing the value in 2 places, which means that something is wrong with our formula. So like I taught you guys in the first class, anytime you copy down a formula, go to the last cell and check if it is referencing the right ranges for the formula to work. So I double click on this and see what happens. My max, the range for my max function has shifted because I didn't lock it. So as I copied the formula down, the range for the max function also copied down. So what I need to do is I need to find a way to tell Excel that even if I'm copying this formula down, always refer to this range here, don't shift. And how do we do that? We do that by making the reference to that range absolute by fixing it. So I can come to the first cell here and edit it. And then I select this range that is in my max function and press F4. So now I have locked it so that, okay, it will go and check, are you equals to the max? And then it will perform this calculation. So if I press enter now, and I copy this formula down, you see what happens. If I come to the last cell here, you see that the red, because the max says, you see that it is in red. So this red area here is the area that is being referred to, is being used for the marks calculation. And you see that it is actually the correct range. It did not shift even as I copied the formula down. So the function has gone and say, okay, check, or are you equal to the marks of this? If equals to this, give me 5% of what you are, otherwise give me 0. See that we've nested the marks function inside the if function to perform the calculation. So you can do that. Okay, you can nest almost any function in Excel as long as you know that, okay, I want to do this, but I need this function to first give me this result. I can take that function, use it to run my calculation, and then pass that function as the input for a different function. Okay. All right. So that was one example, right? We'll work on more examples probably in the next class, or I would send tutorials as usual. So we've gone through 4 of the assignment. The last one was pivot tables. Now, pivot tables are one of the most powerful Excel features that we have. Like, you can do very, very amazing stuff with pivot tables in just little clicks, basically. Very, very little amount of clicking. Okay. So let's look at the pivot tables. So you've been given the same data that we had in the aggregations assignments, right? If I come to the end, I think we have like 99 people. And then we have some questions that we are supposed to answer using pivot tables. Okay, so let's just create a new worksheet where we'll have our pivot table answers. So let's call it pivot table solution so that it can be easy for us to monitor. Okay, so the first question says, how many workers are there in each department? So how do we create a pivot table? You create a pivot table by this. First thing is what? You select the range where you have your data set. Go to insert. Go to insert, and then you see pivot table by the right. I think it's also in the data tab. Yeah. Okay, it's not. So you go to insert and you create a pivot table. So the first thing is what? Select the range. And so we're going to use shortcuts. So first go right, Control Shift right, select everything there, and then press Control Shift down. So to go back up, Control Backspace. You can just write those shortcuts down. They come in handy. Control, you already know by now, if I'm familiar with Control Shift right, Control Shift down, Control Shift up, and all that to select. So we've selected our range. Now we click on, go to the Insert tab, and we click on Pivot Tables. Now, the first thing brings up this dialog box. Okay, did it get the range right? Yes, because we've already given it the correct range. Now says, where do you want the pivot table to be placed? Now, by default, to select a new worksheet, and then a new worksheet will be created for your pivot table. Alternatively, you can add the pivot table to an existing worksheet. So in this case, since we've created a worksheet for our pivot table solution, we can say, okay, just place this on an existing worksheet. So I select existing worksheet, and then it's asking for the location of the worksheet. So while I'm clicked in this box, I come to pivot table solutions, and I just click cell A1 and press OK. So this comes up. Now, depending on your version of Excel, it might look different, but let me quickly make it. Let me see if I can just make it similar. Okay, so this is probably what everyone has on their version of Excel. So before we now go into more details, so we have been able to create a pivot table. We want to now create a pivot table based on the data set. Now, just at the right hand side here, you will have a new pane that will come up with all of the section, the headers, the columns that you have in your pivot table, individual, department, status, hire date, all of that And then with this, we can perform those aggregations very, very easily. So let's now check. The first question says, how many workers are there in each department? So that means we need to do a calculation of the department and find the number of workers. All I need to do is just what, drag my department down to the rows and see what happens. I get a list of all the departments in that data set. And then I want to do what, find the number of workers. So I can use maybe my individuals. I drag my individuals down to the what, value section. Now, because it is text, what the pivot table does is that it immediately aggregates it and does what, a count. As you can see in the label here, is doing what, a count of individuals. So it means that in account management, we have 15, in creative, we have 3, in environmental compliance, we have 2. We have not written any function. Remember, we can achieve this with our sum is what we are also able to do it with the pivot tables. Now, with your pivot tables, you can do a lot of things, right? But we'll first walk through the assignment and then we'll look at the other ones. So let me insert a row above so I can place the questions there as we are working through it. So to insert a row, just select the entire row, right click and click on insert. Okay, so I will insert 2 rows. Okay, so this was the first assignment. How many workers? Let me copy it. How many workers are there in each department? Right? How many workers are there in each department? The second question is, what is the number of workers by status? Okay, so let's create our pivot table again. Go to our tables tab, come here, Control Shift right, Control Shift down. Okay, go to insert pivot table, existing worksheets. Then I come to my pivot table solutions and I select this. Click OK. So we've created another pivot table. In this case, we want what is the number of workers by work status. So I can come to, I'll go to my status and drag that to the rows, and go to my individuals and drag that to the values. So now we already have that list. It's okay. Contract has 11 individuals, full-time has 12 individuals, half-time has 38 individuals. Now you can see, you can also sort this. So I can click on this drop-down arrow here, and then I can sort, let's say, sort by Z to A. But that is sorting the row labels. But what I want to sort is these values here. So I'll go back to that icon. Let me zoom in a bit. Okay. So I'll go back to that drop down there, and then I'll go to more sort options. And then you now have, okay, do you want to sort ascending? Do you want to sort descending? We want to sort descending, but not by status, but by count of individuals. And I click OK. So you see that we have the highest one up and the lowest one down. So we know that half time is 38, hourly is 26, and this is that. Okay, let's look at the next question. It says, what is the total salary for each department has received so far? So let's copy that question here. Okay, now, if you are going to be creating multiple pivot tables from the same data sets, okay, you don't have to repeat the process of going back, selecting the data, and then creating the pivot table. You can basically just go to an existing pivot table, select everything in the pivot table, right? Copy using Ctrl+C. Make sure you select everything in the pivot table, and then go to where you want to put a new pivot table and paste Ctrl+V. So what happens is that it creates a new pivot table. The old one is still there, but you now have a new one. And then I can expand the rows and columns to how I want. And in this case, what I want to do is what is the total salary for that each department has received so far. So I need to do the salary and the department and the total salary. So if I click on anywhere in my pivot table, under this pivot table fields list here, I can come and say, okay, I can go to the rows now, say, okay, I don't want to use status anymore. I want to use department. And do I want to use count of individuals? No, so I can just go here, drag it out, and go to my salary and drag it in here. So I have sum of salaries by department, and you see it's here. So I can also do what I did before. I can sort it. So I come here, more sort options. I want to sort biggest to smallest. So I go to descending. I'm not sorting it by department. I'm sorting it by what? Sum of salary. I come here and I click on sum of salary and press OK. Okay, so I can make this look a little bit more better. Number one is what? The formatting. Okay, so now when you're trying to format a pivot table, you can either select everything in the pivot table here, or the range of cells you want to format. Go to your home tab and do the formatting, or you can just select any of one of the numbers that you want to format. Right click and you see number format in this little box here, this option box. So if you click on the number format, it will open a dialog box. Okay, why is my own not opening? Just give my Excel some time. Okay, it is lagging. That's not good. Okay, that's basically frozen now. Let me see. Okay, so it's up now. So once you clicked on that number format, you can just come here to number. Let's say in this case, want to apply 1,000 separator and no decimal places, for example. Or let's say 2 decimal places, right? 2 decimal places. I'll click OK, and then everything looks fine. The good thing about this is that if you bring in more categories to your data to your rows or to your columns, you can keep the formatting consistent. Okay, so let's look at the next question. It says, what is the category of job rating that has the highest number of persons? So the category of job rating that has the highest number of persons. So we need what? Job rating and the number of persons in each job rating. So just copy the question here. And like I said before, you can select a pivot table, copy it, and paste in a different place. And then you can now expand the column so that all of the values show correctly. Okay. So I select my pivot table. Now in this case, I want a job rating. So I can take this out and bring in job rating. And I can take the salary out and bring in number of individuals. Okay. So the job rating is from 1 to 5. I can also rename this portion here. I can call this number of persons. Okay, I can call this number of persons. I can come to my home tab and right align it if I want to, just for better presentation, basically. Okay, so I have each of the job rating. I can also come here and say job rating. So you have job rating and the number of persons, and that's is good as well. Let's look at the next question. It says, show the average of the total salary paid to each department. So just come here and we'll copy this instead of having to create multiple pivot tables. Space this out. Okay. And then say average salary to each department. So I don't want job rating here. I want department. I don't want number of persons. I want salary. But what happens now? What Excel has done by default is what? Sum of salary. But you can change the way these values are aggregated. Sorry. You can change the way they are aggregated. So now it has done a sum because it saw numbers and it said, oh, maybe the guy wants to do a sum, but I don't want to do a sum. In this case, I need what? The average. So what I do is what? I right click on it. And then once you right click, you get a set of options: copy, format cells, number format. But what we're interested in what is this summarize values by. So now when you have this summarize values by, it basically shows you all the different ways you can aggregate that particular column that we have, in this case, the salary column. So I can summarize values by sum, I can do it by count, I can do it by average, by max, by mean, by product. Okay, and I still have even more options to look at. So in this case, I don't need sum, I need average. So I click on average, and what happens is what? It gives me the average salary for each department. So I can rename this to department, and I can rename this to average salary. And then what I need to do is now what? I can change the formatting. So right click, number format, go to number, comma, separated to decimal places, click OK. And you see, we have the average salary for each department. Okay, let's look at the next question. It says, what is the longest number of years an individual has worked in each department? So I want to say, okay, for each department, what is the longest number of years one person has worked? And in our data set, we have years, which represent how long the person has been working. So come here and say, okay, let me copy this question over to this worksheet. Press Ctrl V. And I can copy this pivot table so that we just use that as a starting point. And sorry, space this out a little bit. Okay. So now the longest number of years an individual has worked. So we're not dealing with salary, but we're still dealing with department. So I can remove the salary out of it. Now I know I need what the number of years the person has worked. So I drag years. And because the number by default, it just goes to a sum of years. So what I need now to do is what? I want to find for in this account management now, for each of the individuals, what is the longest number of years we've had the person working. So what I want to do is what? I want to find the maximum number of years that we have a person working in each department. So I'll right click on this and I'll change, instead of summarizing my values by sum, I'll summarize by what? Max. So what I have is that what in account management, I have one person that has worked, the longest working individual there has worked for 24 years. In creative, the longest person has worked for what? 15 years, and so on, like that. And then instead of changing this to max of years, I can say, okay, longest serving years. Okay, I can say longest serving years. Now, what if I want to know that individual that is actually working for, that has actually worked for 24 years? I can copy this. Just as an example, I can create a new one, copy, paste. Okay. So apart from just having only one row in your pivot table, you can have multiple rows. So as I have the department now on the row, I can bring in my individuals also as another level in the rows. And what happens is what Excel now creates a group. So we have account management, and then we have each of the persons in account management, and we have the number of years that they have worked. If you scroll down, see creative, we have number of people, environmental science, and not obviously environmental science, environmental compliance, and like that. Now, I want to find, okay, who is that individual that has worked for 24 years? So which means that if I can sort this one in ascending order, the highest person will be 24. Because if you look at for account management now, if you look at this set here, you see that the highest we have here is what is 24. And that's why we have 24 here. So I can sort it and come to this drop down here and go to more sort options. And I can sort descending by longest serving years, because that's what I've named this place, and click OK. Okay, but I don't need it only by, now it has sorted it by longest serving years, but it only did it at this total level here, at each of these total levels, but I need it at the person level as well. So I can come back here, and then you see where you have select field. So instead of by departments, I can make this individuals, and then go to more sort options, sorted by okay, no. Well, I can't seem to remember right now, but I will show you guys how to deal with that once it comes to my head. All right, so even with this now, we have two hierarchies here. I can maybe I don't want to have all of this breakdown, but I don't want to remove it. I want someone to be able to, open it up and see the employees that are in each department. So if you click on this little plus and minus icon, you see that it collapses those groups. Okay, but if there are many and you don't want to go through it one by one, you just do what you click on anywhere in your pivot table. If you go to now, anytime you want to create a pivot table, you have two new tabs at the extreme right. In this case, we have pivot table analyze and pivot and design. In older versions of Excel, I think you just have I think it's just design and analyze, right? That's what it's just going to be called. So go to pivot table analyze, and then you have another set of tools that work with the pivot tables. And if you go to pivot table design, you have a set of tools that you can use to change how your pivot table looks. So let's go to pivot table analyze, and in the pivot table analyze, you have where is it? Okay, this is it. It's not very visible in my version of Excel, but if you go to this active field group, you would see two small icons that represent collapse field, expand field and collapse field. Okay, so I can just click on this and it will collapse every field that I have here. Or you can, while staying in the pivot table, the fastest way to do almost anything in Excel is just right click. The option will be there somewhere, right? The option will be there somewhere. In this case, let's see whether we can find it. Yes, we see we have expand or collapse. So you can expand the current field, collapse the current field, expand the entire field, collapse the entire field. So I can expand the entire field and see that it expands every single field that we have here. Or I can right click, expand, collapse, and do what? Collapse entire field. And see that it collapsed every single thing. So we still have all of those breakdown by individuals, okay? But they are just collapsed. So I can just click on this and it opens only the one for quality assurance, and I look at it, okay, this is what we have. I can close it back and do whatever it is I want to do with it. So you have a lot of other options in the pivot table field list that we won't talk about yet. The only one I also look at, I've shown you the collapse and expand. The other one is you can control this pivot table fields pane that you have on the right here. There are sometimes it might be blocking your view, but you want to click in it because anytime you click in your pivot table, it will always open. If you click outside, it closes. But sometimes you may want to click in your pivot table and not have this opened. All you do is what? You close it. And when you now close it and then you click in it, Excel doesn't open it for you again. You see, what you just need to do is what? If you go to your analyze, at the extreme right here, you see what? Show field lists. So you can just click on that and it brings it back. Click on that and it takes it away. Or as always, right click. If you right click in your pivot table, you'll see it at the end here. Show field list. Okay, show field list. If I click on that, it also opens it as well. All right, that is about the pivot table analyze. On the design aspects, in the design tab for the pivot table, you have a set of options that change the look and feel of your pivot table. So you can add, at the extreme right here, you have a group called layout. So you can decide whether to show subtotals, whether to show all the subtotals at the bottom of group, at the top of group. And what are subtotals? These are just basically subtotals. So this is the individual values, and then this is the subtotal for facilities / engineering. So I can decide whether or not I want to show the subtotal by coming to my design tab. And then if I select this, I can say, okay, do not show subtotals. And you see that it has taken it off. But it only took it off for anytime you expand, that's when you have subtotals. Okay, so I can decide, okay, do not show subtotals. I say show all subtotals at bottom of group. So that now you see that when I expanded this, instead of the 24 being up here, it is down here. Okay, that's show subtotals at bottom of group. And then you can just play around with all of these options. Okay, you have grand totals. So you can on or off the grand totals for rows, or on is for rows only, and all of that. The one I like most is changing the report layout. Okay, so you have different layouts. Instead of, you are not forced to have, your pivot table to always look like this. Maybe I want to have a department column, and then I want to have the person column, and then I want to have the number of years that they serve. All I can do is what, while I'm selected in my pivot table, I'll come over to the design tab and I'll go to report layout. Now, if I click on the report layout, I have a number of options in my report layout. Currently now, if I press show in compact form, that is the current report layout that we have now in compact form. I can go there and go to show in outline form and see what happens. It just basically splits it as a new this in column. If I collapse it, it still works as normal, but each sub level that I have will be on a new column. And I can choose one more, which is what, show in tabular form. And this one sometimes can be very useful. Maybe you want to aggregate and then have something like this. So it shows the department, shows each person and their number of years, and it gives you a subtotal here. You can just change the look and feel, play around with it and see what you want. Then you can decide whether, okay, you want to repeat all item labels and then just put engineering, blah, 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 everything here like this, repeating it on all labels in all rows. You can decide whether you don't want that, play around with how it feels, how you want it to do with blank rows, whether you want to show column headers or not, whether you want to show row headers or not. If you want to change the pivot table style, you have a lot of options to work with. Okay, your Excel version will always have a particular default, but you are not restricted to that look and feel. Okay, let's just go through one more question. I think that should be the last question, which is, what's the average job rating by department? So I'll copy this. Let's just copy this down here. So what is the average job rating by department? So I can copy any of my pivot tables so I don't have to start again. and I paste it here. Okay. So in this case, what I need is what? Not department. I need job rating. I'm sorry, average number of rating by average job rating by department. So I don't need job rating here. I need it by department. What I now need here is the job rating. And I don't need the sum. I need the what? Average. So I select, I right click, and I go to what? Summarize values by, and I find the average. And then I can change the number formatting by right clicking, number format, put it in numbers, 2 decimal places, click OK. So the average rating here is what? 3.6, 1.7, and all of that. And I can, go to here, more sort options, sort descending by average of job rating, and click OK. And then we have that as well. So a lot of things you can do with pivot tables. If I wanted to have, let's see, not just by department, okay, but I wanted to also do, okay, let's say I want to do a new pivot table now, and I want to look at the breakdown of the salary. So copy, paste, and then, so now I'm not looking at job rating. I want to look at the breakdown of the salary, but not just by department, but also by department and job rating. So I can drag the job rating to the columns, okay? And then I have a, I have the department by the rows, and I have the job rating by the columns. I have job rating 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I can bring in my salary to my value section. And so I have like a cross-tabulated report that says, okay, for this department and for job rating number 1, I have 11,810. So that's the salary for people that are in this department and they're rated and they have a job rating of 1. To make this much more explanatory, I can change the labels here. If I put job rating here, okay, and then I can change the formatting. So I have maybe commas. So I right click, number format, go to number, 1,000 separator. Maybe this time around I don't want decimal places, and I click OK. So I have my job rating 1, account management department. The total salary there is what? 11,810. And say job rating 4, account management, you have what? 150. So you've created a cross-tabulated report that you could have done it with SUMIFS, right? But by just clicking around, you're able to create it with a pivot table. So a pivot table is a very, very, very powerful. So yeah, you can do all sorts of things with pivot tables. Okay, so I made mention last week during the last assignment that we gave about the the first assignment that we gave that had some questions on SUMIFS and COUNTIFS. I said there was an hidden worksheet, okay, that contained some data, and what I wanted you guys to do was to recreate all of the things we did with SUMIFS in assignment 4, to recreate it with using pivot tables as the assignment 5. I think maybe only 2 people gave it a go and sent a response to me. And you did it quite well. You did quite well. So I would encourage you guys, if you have the assignment 1 file, or you just use what? Unhide in new worksheets. So you right click on the worksheet and you click on unhide. So when you click on unhide, you will see assignment 5 there in week 1, exercise 5. So unhide it, try out recreating everything we did with the SUMIFS using pivot tables. You can submit if you want, it's no harm. Or if you don't want, just use it to practice. Just come up with different kind of aggregations or reports you think that, okay, let me try this, play around with the formatting. Anytime you have any question, just drop it on our Telegram group. Any of the facilitators would always be happy to answer. So this is basically all of the assignments, right? You guys did very well, actually. You guys did very well. In terms of the pivot tables, you did well. The conditional aggregations, you did quite all right. I think it was only for the if function, right? Most of a little, tweaks here and there with mistakes with the if function, but I think we have been able to cover that. We were able to explain that in this session that we had now. Okay, so any questions so far before we move on to the next thing? Any questions? Looking at the charts now. Any questions? Blessing, Demitokwe, Valkis, you guys have any questions? Or was there, while you were doing the assignment, was there something you saw, right, that you think, oh, I didn't quite get this. Can you explain it again? You can unmute your mic and speak. Oh, you make use of Google Sheets. Oh, yes, yes, yes. So there are similarities, but there are more differences with Google Sheet. Now, I'm not sure. I don't think you have pivot tables with Google Sheets. I'm not sure, right? I'm not very familiar with Google Sheets, but I know that in terms of the functions are the same. If, average ifs, COUNTIFS, SUMIFS, they are the same with Google Sheets. But for pivot tables, I'm not sure they are. And even if they are pivot tables, the functionality will be quite different. Okay, it will be quite different. But I think what's most important is, apart the ones you can practice with as we go with the class, you practice them. The ones you can't practice, you are aware, right? You're aware of what it is, you're aware of how to go about it, and then anytime you have access to a laptop or a computer, you give it a try. Okay. Oh, there are pivot tables in Google Sheets. Okay. Yeah, but not like that of Excel. Yeah, Google Sheets is by Google. Excel is by Microsoft. So there are bound to be differences between them. About to be differences between them. Okay, so apart from that, any other issues so far with the class? Let's see, before we discuss some other topics. Any other issue? Nothing. Okay, nothing. So as a quick recap, I think we have gone through quite a lot of things. And okay. Blessing says you are good. I knew I was to use the if function, but I wasn't getting the logical test parts right, and I wasn't comfortable not leaving it empty. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. But I believe now after the class, you should have gotten the hang of the if function, and you can practice. Okay, you can practice. Okay, will the class be uploaded on YouTube? Yes, I will try to upload it. The last session and this session, I will try to upload it onto YouTube. So if you have the YouTube channel saved, it's just going to be the same YouTube channel, and you will get it. I will try and make that probably before Sunday. Okay, depending on certain things, I'll try and make it available. Okay, any other question? Okay, I guess all of us are quite all right. What we've done. So I just want to recap what we've done so far. We've covered an introduction to Excel. We've covered, number formatting, changing number formatting, adding borders, making bold, right? We've talked about Excel functions. We've talked about shortcuts, We talked about functions like sum, average, max, mean, large, small. We've talked about referencing, absolute referencing, relative referencing, mixed referencing. We've talked about average ifs, sum ifs, count ifs. You've looked at the if function now, okay? And then there are other ways to still enrich some of these functions, okay? But we just want to keep introducing you to more things. So we've looked at the if function. We've now looked at pivot tables this week. Yes, we looked at pivot tables this week. So for next week's class, we are going to be looking at, I think we'll probably call it the most popular Excel function ever, and that is Vlookup function. So next week's class, we'll look at Vlookup function. We would also look at some some additions to the if function, right? Like in this case, we've had a situation where, okay, we just wanted to test one criteria and say, okay, is this equal to that, or is this greater than that? Or sometimes you may have, more than one condition and you want to say, okay, if this is equal to this and this is greater than that, then do something, otherwise don't do this. So maybe you have, multiple conditions that you want to check or you want to test and see if all of those conditions are met. That's when a certain calculation should be done, okay? Or maybe you want to check, okay, if this is true or this is true or this is true. So there are some functions that help with that, and those are the and. We have the and function and the or function. So we'll look at next week, we'll look at how those enrich the if function. So we look at the and function, look at the or function, look at how you use it together with the if function. We'll look at the Vlookup function, and then we will now start working a lot with nesting functions together. So you have a function that does something, you nest it into another function because you want to do a calculation, but you want to write just one single formula that does it. Okay, we've done a simple example in this case where we said we compare this value to the max with another value of a set of values. Okay, so we'll be doing a lot of nesting functions, and those ones will be during the live classes. Okay, those ones will be during the live classes. I think we have just 2 more classes to go. So the Vlookup function and or function, we'll look at that. Also pivot tables, we'll keep practicing, we'll keep giving you assignment and case studies to get familiar. All right, they will be complex. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to me on Telegram, or you drop it on the group so that even everyone can learn from it as well. And then once we've covered that, we would now look at charts, right? Creating charts, because I think that is one of the most, it's something that you always need as an Excel user and also as an economics student. Okay, you would need to create charts at some point, right? So we'll look at creating charts as well. So for this week, it's just going to be an enrichment of the if function using the and or functions and the pivot tables. I'm sorry, and the Vlookup function. So we'll have that, and then we'll build again on more pivot table applications. Then the following week will just be about creating charts, and that one is going to be a live class, and it's not going to be on Saturday. Okay, so it's going to be a live class. It's going to be short, but we'll show you the different chart options and how to edit the different elements in the chart so that you learn how to create charts, and you learn how to format them to how you want. When I say charts, I'm talking about what we know as a graph. Okay, in Excel we call them charts, and they're also probably called charts. Okay, so we'll cover that, and then the training would not come to a close. Okay, once we've covered that, you will now be given a final case study, and trust me when I say it's not going to be easy. Okay, we are going to build on every single thing that we have covered so far. Functions, pivot tables, charts, Vlookup, you would have a case study where you would have to walk through all of it. Okay, so that will be in the next I guess 2.5 weeks, right? That would be that. I will have that as well. So I think we can close this class early since we've covered much of what we wanted to do. I think Dr. Shetty is on the call. I don't know, maybe he wants to quickly address us. Let me see if I can contact him. Maybe he has, one or two words of encouragement for us.
Thank you very much, Balaji. And I sincerely want to appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
I want to appreciate NESA to actually be able to empower members of NESA with this capability. You know, I often say something anytime I have the opportunity to speak to young people that there was a research that we did in the year 2016, 2017 with some colleagues in the UK, where we had the privilege of conducting interviews with selected HR personnel on factors driving the successful transition of young people from university into the labor market. Possible, what are the noticeable barriers that also truncate their transition into the labor market? There was a particular quote that came up in that study, and that quote is that, yes, when you compare the population of Nigerians, young Nigerians, relative to the number of jobs that are being created annually, we would say that there are no jobs at all. There are no jobs at all. But when you compare the available jobs with the population of young people that know what they are doing, not everybody knows exactly what they are doing, they know what they want. That population is very few. And as such, for this few population, there are more than enough jobs. I can beat my chest to begin to mention names of NESItes who have graduated and have been. I became the NESA staff advisor. The few students who graduated under my cohort in 2018, I can also tell you a few of them that have changed job not twice, not with all honesty and modesty, that ASU is on strike, but learning is never going to go on strike. And that is why I sincerely want to salute your courage. I want to salute your tenacity. I want to salute your resilience, because I know it is not easy. Investing in data,
yes,
for you to be able to join us online today for this 2 hours of learning about Excel. You know, I know it is not easy on your part, and that is why I must salute your courage. But nevertheless, it is an investment on your part. There are several organizations out there now looking for young people who have the capability to use Excel, who have the capability to use Power BI, who have the capability to use Python, etc. This is the job of the future. I must be sincere with you.
yes,
Okay? Looking for jobs with just only your degree is not enough anymore. For me, it takes you just only 2 years. First year, your service year. Second year, when you come in. After that 2 years, organizations will begin to ask you, what else? So, Bolaji, on behalf of my head of department, Professor Wakil Ishola, and other members of staff of the Department of Economics, I sincerely want to appreciate you. And I say thank you. And for others, all the assignments that have been given, I heard Bolaji says you can submit, you cannot submit. Please try as much as possible to do it and submit. Yes. When you submit, you get the feedback. The feedback will further enhance your interest. It will further enhance your capabilities. And the mistakes you made, you will also learn from it and become a better person at the use of Excel. Thank you all. I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. And thank you to Dr. Shetu and even to the department for supporting.
Sorry, Bolaji, I hope before we leave, you would do a screenshot for everybody to put on their videos and take a screenshot, which you can share with me.
Okay, sir. That's no problem. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining the class. And also thank you to NESA, I believe. At least since we started the initiative for having this training, Dr. Shito has been very supportive, and even the department as large has been very, very supportive. So I would just like us to just turn on your video. Let's just take let's call it a virtual picture. Let's call it a virtual picture. Okay. So we can see this moment. Is this moment in time, or is it in history? So Blessing, Balkis, Temitope, Omoyeme. I pray I pronounce your name correctly. So you guys can just turn on the video. I know you may not be maybe somewhere that is very, very convenient, but just for a few seconds, so we can take a virtual picture. You guys should not disappoint me. We have been in this since week 1 together. I think I have most of the students that have been active so far. I can see all of you on the call here, so don't disappoint, please. Okay, I have Blessing. Hello, Blessing. Nifemi, Temitope, I'm waiting. Okay. Okay, I have Valkyries as well. Hello. Hi. I'm waiting for just 3 more people, and okay. Hello. So we're waiting for Nifemi and Temitope. Nifemi, Temitope, I'm waiting for you. We are not many. Oh, okay.
Oh, I'm coming, sir.
Okay. How about Temitope? Any? All right. Okay, we have Temitope now as well. Okay. Okay, so Nifemi, will you be able to sort your camera issue?
Just give like 10 seconds. I think
10 seconds. Okay, all right. Well, till while we wait for him to join the call, I think I can just take a screenshot now. Everyone smile. Okay. Let's wait. Okay, Nifemi is back now. All right, Nifemi, can you turn on your video? While we wait for Nifemi, I think to take the picture, if all of us say Excel, I don't think you can say Excel without smiling. So even if you don't want to smile, I will ask you to say Excel while we take while we take the screenshot. So let's wait for okay, Nifemi. Can we all right? We have Nifemi on as well. Great. Well, we lost one person. So let's all just say Excel. Excel. You can't say Excel without smiling. It's not possible. Okay, so I've taken the screenshots. Thank you, everyone. It's good to see your faces. Let's say Namoyeme, Balkis, Nifemi. Thank you for joining the call today. Also, thank you for Dr. Shitsu for making the Zoom platform available for us to have this class. And I think we can bring the class to an end now. All right. See you guys next week. If you have any questions, you contact me on Telegram group. Okay. Bye, everyone. Okay.